Hey everyone, welcome to the Different Fins channel. Today, I'm going to show you what I pack in my sled. This is what I take with me when I go ice fishing in the backcountry. Before I get to the sled, you probably noticed that not everything I had was in it. I was also holding a pail, just a standard 5-gallon pail. I keep some lighter stuff in here. There's my slush scoop to clean out the holes. And I typically throw my fishing rods in here. Just less likely that they'll get damaged. And of course, in the other hand, a shovel. They always come in handy when you're ice fishing. Well, first thing we got to do is take off these bungees. That's all I use, just a couple simple bungee cords. Hold everything in place. I haven't lost anything yet. The first item, that is my pop-up shelter. This shelter is a little bulky. It's a Cabela shelter, non-insulated. I find with a little propane heater, it's good enough, even down to -20. More or less just keeping the wind off you. But I like the size of it, even though it's awkward to carry around. It's about 9.5 feet by 9.5 feet and over 7 feet tall in the middle. I could easily stand up and I'm not tripping over things or hitting my head. So that's the first item. And of course, it's optional. There's a lot of trips where I don't use this thing, but it's nice to have. Now that the shelter is off, you can see most of my stuff. Next thing I'll pull out, nope, it's not Coors Light beer. I don't drink Coors Light. I'm a craft beer drinker, but it is a nice case. Here I have my little buddy heater. Mr. Heater. It's not very large. People usually buy the bigger buddy heaters, but this is more than enough. It keeps the shelter warm enough to melt snow. It just runs off these guys right here, which is also in the sled, just 1 pound propane bottles. And it comes with a base. So the propane just sits in this base, like so. That threads onto the heater. And it's got a self-igniter, but it's wise to bring a lighter with you. Like a barbecue lighter is perfect for that, just in case you get out there and the self-igniter doesn't want to work. Right, that's the next item. Next item is another optional one. That's my flasher, Markham M5. There's so many great flashers and underwater cameras and live scopes on the market today, but this one's been really good for me. Yeah. Next, of course, tackle box. This is my generic one. If I'm going for something specific like stocked trout or something larger like lake trout or pike, of course I'll only bring a few lures that I'm going to be using that day. But regardless, it usually comes in the sled. All right. You're probably curious about this. Why do I have a fishing net when this is my ice fishing pack? Well, I do a lot of sight fishing, and the hole is large enough that I could use a net, and it makes it so much easier handling those wily little trout. Easier for me and safer for them. So yes, in ice fishing, winter season, I actually do bring a net. All right, up next, everybody knows what this is. Just a generic bump board. Sometimes you need to know the length of a fish for regulation purposes. Other times you just want to know how big the fish is. Well, all right, a couple more items left. Jaw jackers. When I'm fishing for stocked trout, I typically don't use set lines at all, but these are amazing for walleye fishing, any kind of fish that's gonna pop up, take a live bait or a dead bait. Super simple to set these up. And on certain fish, like walleye, I have almost 100% hookup rate. There we go. Just there. Rod goes in here, bent over. There's a little trigger, and that'll set right beside the ice hole. They work amazing. A little pricey, but if you can afford it, I highly recommend it. And of course, an auger. If you're going to get into ice fishing, this is probably the first thing you're going to buy. Doesn't have to be a power auger. I started out as a kid with, the old hand crank augers, which I'd actually like to buy again in the future because I want to do some real backcountry trips, lightweight without the sled. But when I have the sled, power auger is the way to go. This one I've had for a few years. Made by Ion. 8-inch bit. But I also ordered a second bit that fits on this, which is a 10-inch. That comes in handy, but for most of my fishing, that's all I use right there. I hope you found that informative, if not entertaining. That is more or less what I pack with me. Of course, I also have my backpack, which is what I use to carry my GoPros, any kind of camera equipment, snacks, drinks, tools like pliers. But yeah, that's my kit. That's what I take, and of course it varies from lake to lake or what I'm fishing for or how I'm fishing. So when I do pack for ice fishing, of course I pack specifically for what I'm going to be doing. If I'm sight fishing, well, obviously I need to bring the propane heater, the shelter, because that blacks out the sun, so there's no glare on the water. If I'm fishing late in the spring, well, it's warm out, ice is starting to melt, I don't need the shelter. Then I'll bring the jaw jackers. If I'm fishing super deep water, or trout specifically, or crappie, another basin fish, I'll be bringing the flasher. I don't always bring the flasher. If I'm sight fishing, I don't need it. But each day I make a checklist, write down what I need, and pack accordingly. Alright, well, the next video you see, I'll likely have some of this stuff out on the water. So tight lines, we'll catch you next time.